Hey Moon lovers, welcome to another episode of All Things Moon, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life with myself, Kelly Jones. So, eclipse season is here. I am pretty sure if you're listening to this that you've been experiencing some of these energies coming up. My title at the top here, the biggest word that I've got in with exclamation marks is water leaks. And if you'd listened to 2 episodes ago when I told you what had been going on in my own life here, that both me and my mum had experienced major water leaks in our bathrooms, and on listening to fellow astrologers out there telling stories of water leaks. And can you believe it? This morning, I was sitting here all ready to go on Zoom to do a Venus in Leo Venus reading for a friend of mine who is a Pisces. She's a water sign, and she had to reschedule with me because she had a major water leak in her kitchen. Can you believe this? You just can't write this stuff. So whatever is going on out there, the water energy is being expanded to be released. And clearly, for some of us, and hers was hot water. So, that has got Venus in Leo, hot, hot, hot water for a Pisces, all written all over it, like literal manifestations of these energies. So, this this upcoming eclipse in the sign of Pisces is on the 7th or 8th of September, depending where you are in the world. I'm in the UK, so it will be on the 7th, which is Sunday, around about 7 o'clock in the evening. So I think it will be exact here at 8 minutes past 7. But I have just got on my notes here that it's a long eclipse. So sometimes eclipses, when they're partial, they don't last very long. This is a total lunar eclipse. So it will last round about 5 hours from beginning to end. We will have around about 15 minutes to witness it here in the UK, because the eclipse will already have been happening as the moon starts to come up. So at moon rise, if you like, around about 10 past 7, 8 past 7 in the evening, we should see that blood moon, red moon, coming over for about 15 to 20 minutes, I think, because it starts before moonrise. So weather permitting here, we should be able to witness it. Now there's lots of debate on whether you should actually look at an eclipse or not. Now, this is an eclipse of the moon, not the sun. There are superstitions out there about what an eclipse brings. Now, in ancient cultures, a blood moon would symbolize an omen of some significant change, divine power, maybe the death of a king or a queen. It that's what, if you bear in mind that astrology was mostly used by kings and queens, they had a royal astrologer, so they would have been looking for something that was to do with the land, with the country, with royalty, with those kinds of things. But spiritually, a blood moon symbolizes powerful transformation, death and rebirth, uncovering of hidden truths, spiritual awakenings, but I would say, from my perspective, deep emotional release. A full moon is always a time for emotional release, anything that we want to let go of, something that's no longer serving us. So this eclipse in the very watery, very emotional sign of Pisces, being strengthened by Jupiter there over in Cancer, is really significant of letting go of something. It's the end of a chapter. So the full moon would be, a full moon illuminates, but remember, it illuminates and then it's going to cut that light off. So all of a sudden, it's going to go that deep red, ominous color. Being that Pisces is the end of the zodiac story. So if you think of Aries being the beginning of the story, Pisces is the end of the story. So the ending of a life chapter where new beginnings can happen as everything moves on. So the North Node currently is in the sign of Pisces. So the North Node of the moon is where our souls are headed towards in this lifetime. The South Node is currently in Virgo on that opposite axis. That is what we are moving away from, old patterns. So the South Node is basically where we have been. The North Node is where we are going, if we want to look at it in the essence of time. But even in our soul's journey, this is significant of the end of a chapter that has been playing out a pattern which we no longer need in this lifetime. So Saturn, where it's been, earlier on in the year, we were talking about Saturn moving into Aries, Neptune moving into Aries. Those two are still traveling together. But currently this week, Saturn has drifted back to 29 degrees of Pisces. So just when we thought that that was the ending and here was the beginning, Saturn is going back into Pisces for 5.5 months. And he really is there to wrap up the story that he's been getting you to get real about for the past 2.5 years, or 3 years even. I mean, this really is not a mistake. Saturn has gone back to Pisces, opened the door, and is saying, what are you still doing here? And that really reminds me, that brings to mind a time when an awakening was happening for myself personally. And they seem to have, during my life, when Uranus particularly has been involved, it has somehow been with me ending up having an internal burst. So twice in my lifetime, I've ended up once with a perforated appendix. And before that, many years ago, I had an epigastric hernia, which is literally on your solar plexus here. And my emotions burst. And I was in hospital, and my now ex-husband, and that operation did actually lead towards the end of our relationship. And I remember he would not take the time off to take me home to look after me. And I had very low blood pressure. I was very fainty. So they wouldn't let me go home without someone to take care of me. So I ended up staying in hospital for 2 days longer than I was supposed to be there. And I remember the doctor, the surgeon, coming round, opening the curtain and saying to me, what are you still doing here? And the flood of emotion that came out at the reality of that situation was, I'm still here, feeling wounded, not being taken care of, because the reality is that relationship needed to come to an end. That's how it started. So, I like to give you these stories so you can see maybe how something is playing out in your life. You have to get out of here and face it. That is what Saturn is saying to us here in one way or the other. And that is going to be dependent on which area of life it is showing up for you. So just fiddling around with my notes here, sorry. So Saturn brings tests, like a really old, wise teacher. Makes me think of my old teacher, Alan, my maths teacher at theatre school. He was so old, but he brought his wisdom and his calmness into the class. Although he really didn't have a lot of Saturn going on because there wasn't a lot of discipline in that class. But what it makes me think of is something like Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid. He will have you committing to your practice. Being in Pisces, this is a spiritual practice of some kind. Discipline is key. Pulling you out of your Neptune illusion. Remember, Neptune is drifting along with Saturn here. Saturn is that reality, Neptune the illusion that you have been under. So Saturn will have you cleaning those windows, wax on, wax off. This is vinegar and water, not rose water. Taking those rose tinted glasses off and seeing what is real. Committing to a spiritual practice that helps you be strong enough to move on. The Pisces part of the zodiac story represents the end before the beginning, the return to spirit before we are born again. It will have karmic tones, emotional waters, feelings that you want to escape from. Yeah, I know that for sure. The strength and intensity of the feelings I've been experiencing recently, as I told you in previous episode before last, if you want to listen to that whole story, I just wanted to disappear to my mum's caravan. I've been going there quite a bit. Every time I've wanted to escape the feelings that I'm experiencing being in this house. And this eclipse is showing up for me in my 4th house of home. Literally, I have been wanting to escape from it. Pisces is the dreamer, the mystic, but it can bring a need for escapism, addictions, numbing out, disappearing, wanting to leave. That is me going upstairs, shutting the door, not wanting to get into conflict, shutting my mouth, affecting my jaw. Pisces wants to meditate until it's all over. But with Venus currently in Leo, if you listen to my last episode all about Venus energy in the sign of Leo, Venus is asking us to honor our self-worth. Leo is that sign of honor and pride, having pride in ourselves, taking self-pride over our self-worth, our value, to shine and feel our passion. These energies are more than just hints. They are a screaming rock band. The spotlight is on, the curtains are open. It's really time to step out onto our own stage. Be seen messy, be seen vulnerable. Mascara down your face, swollen eyes and all, and that has been me. Now, one of the reasons I don't wear mascara and I wear these little falsies is because my eyes are so sensitive. But recently, as I've told you before, my whole face was swollen. and I needed to do things. I had to step outside of here looking the way that I did. It was so obvious to people, and I was just like, here I am in a mess. But when you show that, that's when support shows up. That's when that love shows up. We must remember that we are still loved regardless. We must give that self-love to ourselves regardless. It's something that I wrote down when I set up the self-love club many years ago, is self-love is unconditional love regardless, no matter what, for ourselves, regardless of any shame, of any guilt. We must put that first. With Jupiter still in that sign of Cancer, expanding the need to be mothered, the need to be nurtured. My mum has gone home now, but I made the most of her being here, that most of that mother nurturing, and now I need to give that to myself. We need to give that to ourselves. Water everywhere, emotions bursting through the pipes. If we are not addressing those emotions, it seems that our water pipes are doing it for us, creating a stressful situation that makes you have a breakdown, a meltdown, an emotional confrontation. So Jupiter is in her favourite palace in Cancer, exalted and benefic. So yes, expanding water in some cases, but Jupiter is the ruler of this full moon eclipse. She wants justice, abundance, higher learning for us all. So understand that Jupiter is trying really, really hard to bring beneficial things to us. Beyond the scary part, Pisces is asking us to surrender, float on the waves, to trust in the divine. Now, this is all lovely, fluffy talk with Saturn there, giving us that real feeling of what it really is like to be in this human body, to be in this human life, to be on this earth with all the chaos that Uranus is bringing us right now. Uranus is just turning retrograde this week. What are we on, the 4th of September today? I believe the 6th of September is when Uranus starts to station. It's going to turn retrograde. It's going to strengthen those chaotic waves. Uranus has not been in the sign of Gemini for 84 years retrograde. So this is, a long time coming. It's still in Gemini at the moment and is going to be traveling back into Taurus. I myself am highly aware that traveling back is into my 6th house of health and well-being, my daily routines. They need to change radically. I need to address my health and well-being in a radical way. Pisces asking us to surrender. Just a few days ago, I laid down on my mat, I stared at the ceiling and I said, right, that is it. I hand it over to you because I do not know what to do. All of me wants to run away from this. But I need to use that Venus, Leo courage. All of the signs, all of these hints, all of these realities, everything that's going on. It's time to pull up our big girl pants. Saturn wants us to be mature. Saturn wants us to grow up and do what's necessary. We've also got a square going on between Jupiter and Mars here. So what action can Mars help you to take to get towards that dream that Jupiter wants you to have? What is your Pisces dream? Where is my dream home, if that's where it's showing up? How will I get there? What action can I take? I know that Mars is over my midheaven right now, so my motivation is really gaining momentum to reach my public life purpose. I know that Mars being there could make my ego be in the way, that Venus in Leo pride, that ego getting in the way of doing what I need to do so that I can lead the way forwards. I'm a cardinal sign, I need to lead. Yep. So what action can we take to get towards our dreams? So get your chart out, get your chart done. Understand what's going on for yourself so you have a better understanding of what's happening for you. Which house is Pisces in? So then you'll see where Saturn is. You'll see where this eclipse is. You'll see where the moon will be. Saturn is not a happy house guest here. He really wants to finish the job and get back to action-orientated Aries. So we have 5.5 months of Saturn being here. Where in this house area have you been denying your true feelings? What is your dream? What do you really want? Where do I want to live? How do I want to feel? Can you tap into that Leo courage? Re-aim your arrow for your Venus desires. Also, when you get your chart out, look across, see where Virgo is. What house area is that? If for myself, if Pisces, house and home, then Virgo is career. My moon resides in Virgo. So that is where my career zone is. It's where emotionally I feel secure when I have a career, when I have that purpose, when I'm out in public. Hiding away in my shell does not work for me. It drags me down. Where are you being dragged down by not looking at these things and addressing them through numbing out and hiding away and denying how you really feel? I can also see, when you look at your chart, what planets are there, what's opposing each other. I can see that as Saturn has moved back into the sign of Pisces, it's there opposite Pluto. Yep, literally that means doors closing for me. Doors literally have got stuck in this house. So now that my front door is sorted, can you believe the back door keeps getting stuck? I need to close a door on this chapter. Saturn being opposite Pluto is certainly limiting my resources. Work has been limited. Preserving my energy is crucial right now. But it's all temporary. Remember, everything is moving. It's moving. Nothing is completely still. Everything is a cycle, and it's moving around and it's shifting and shaping things for us. And it's just which windows we are looking out of. It's not what we're looking at, but what we see that matters. It's my favorite saying. I have it on my screensaver all the time. If you're not sure of where all of this is showing up for you, book a reading with me. I have got a limited time offer of 22% off a sun, moon and rising reading. So that is not a full hour and a half going into every planet, but it will give you enough to start understanding what's going on for you. And we can have a look and see where this moon is showing up for you, where this energy is. I also still have the Venus reading, so that's just a 15-minute reading. There's no special offer on that because it's super cheap, but you have got 22% off. The code for all of that will be in the show notes. Send me a message if you can't find it. If you're wanting a little bit of guidance of how to just get a free chart done, even. It's easy enough to get a free chart done, but if you're not really sure about how to do it, send me a message. I'll send you some guidance for free. So what to do around this moon? One, you can join me online on Sunday evening at 8 o'clock. So we are gathering together online just after the eclipse to do a little meditation, some journaling, some ceremony. I will go a lot more in depth into what all of this means for you personally. We'll have a look at where this moon is showing up, which house area for you. Remember that the red glow of the blood moon symbolizes transformation. It's the death of old patterns in that south node, making way for the rebirth of that north node soul purpose journey. So it really gives us a moment to maybe just sit with some water, and maybe not do it literally on the eclipse, maybe the day after, but sit with some pure water, some spring water. You could do it under the blood moon if you wanted to, just softly gaze into the water, ask a question, invite your ancestors and spirit to give you guidance, write down and journal anything that arises, and write down what you want to release, or speak what you want to release into that water and return it to the earth. Speak your intentions. Do something intentional, light a candle. I have a candle here burning bright for us. I have a beautiful rose for self-love from my garden. I wish you could smell this. It smells so amazing. And just to wrap things up, I'm going to pull us a card and then skedaddle out of here. So let's see whoop, that was pretty quick. We got 2 cards, so it won't be that quick. What have we got? We have the courageous peony, that courage word, multifaceted, unique nature. Let yourself be seen. As I said, the spotlight is on the stage. The curtains are open for us to step on stage. No matter how vulnerable and messy you are feeling, get out there, release whatever you need to release so that you can make your dream real. And lost lands. Now, do you know, this card was on the top of the pack when I got it out of the box, and I shoved it back in the pack and give it a good shuffle, and it's back out. So it's significant. I've seen it twice today. Soul, memories and gifts. You have done this before. I know for certain that I've been an astrologer before. I've done this before. Lost lands. Yep. I think all of this chaotic energy, all of this change and movement in the earth, the volcanoes, the eruptions, the disruptions, we're going to see the return of what we once lost. But it won't be the same. It'll be now. It'll be in the conditions and times that we're in now. But we're heading back to discover lots of things that we lost that have been deliberately cast out. I really wish self-love, unconditional love regardless. Much love to all of you moon lovers out there, and I wish you a beautiful eclipse. I hope to see some of you at the ceremony, and I hope to hear from some of you, even if it's just to tell me your story. And if you don't mind me sharing your story, please let me know, because I'm always sharing my own stories. It'd be great to share someone else's too. See you next time.